Hey everyone, today I'd like to talk about the RSA algorithm. So a little background on the RSA algorithm. It was discovered in 1976 by three professors at MIT named Rivest, Shamir, and Aldelman. That's where the RSA algorithm was derived from, was the last name of those three professors, and it was considered top secret until 1997 where it was disclosed and it is currently in wide use today. It's considered a secure algorithm as long as the modulus is large, though quantum computing may change that. But going into the RSA algorithm, and we're just going to brief over the math. We're not going to concentrate too much on the math and more on the practical application of it. But the modulus n can be found by multiplying hopefully two large random prime numbers together. So n can equal p times q, and if n is large, and hopefully these two prime numbers are large, then the RSA algorithm can be considered secure. The public key exponent e can be found by selecting a value between 1 and this is null set of the modulus. So where null set is equal to n minus 1 or p times q minus 1 are two large prime numbers. And I'll show you how to find those prime numbers given a private key here in a little bit. But in practice, given that P and Q are normally very large, E is generally set to 65,537. So the private key exponent can be found using the Euclidean algorithm. So the Euclidean algorithm is an algorithm that's used extensively in the RSA algorithm. I'll leave a link to that description in the video or in the video's description. Modulo operation and Euler theorem are also widely used, but again, we're just glossing over the math here. Private keys found by E times D, where D is our private key, mod null set of n equal to 1. And then from there, the tuple En, so a tuple is an immutable, non-changeable object. The tuple E of n or En is the public key, and this can be extracted from the private key, which I'll demonstrate shortly. So the ciphertext can be found with this equation. C is equal to M, where M is the plain text message, raised to the public key exponent, mod of the modulus, P times Q. And then the ciphertext can be decrypted using this equation. So M being the plain text, just human readable text, and then C is your encrypted message raised to the private key exponent times the mod of the modulus. So we'll also demonstrate that signatures can be found with the private key, and this signature can be calculated by taking M, our message, raised to the exponent or the private key exponent times the modulus of n. So messages can be signed using Openssl RSA util, which will also be demonstrated in a bit. Okay, so let's dig into this. So we can generate a private key using genrsa. So if we go open SSL, genrsa, and then we go AES. So AES is just an encryption algorithm, but we could use any of these algorithms here. So genrsa, this is superseded by genp key, but using genrsa is just fine. And then any of these algorithms, we can generate a private key. So taking a look at that, if we say output it to a private.pem file, PEM stands for privacy enhanced mail, and then make it 1024 bits long, it will generate a private key for us, and it'll set E, which as we described earlier is to 65,537, which is generally done in practice. So we will use password as our password. So not a very secure password, but if we take a look at that private key, here is our RSA private key. So we can find a signature if we're given the private key. And this is going to be a solution to one of WebGoat's lessons, Crypto Basics. So hopefully you attempted this yourself before looking at this video. But if we're given a private key, we can calculate a modulus and signature based on that private key. So in this case, we're given a private key. So if we go and put this private key in a .pem file, and then we'll save it, we'll find that we now have a private key. And from that, we can find our modulus. The modulus between the private and public key will be the same. So the modulus is known, and that's fine. The public key is also known, hence the name public. So that can be shared between like two, say, communicators. And like if you had a hacker sitting in the middle, if it's able to find the private key or find the modulus and public key, that's okay. It still doesn't know the private key. The private key can be generated by both, say, like Alice and Bob on each side, and they would share that public key between them, and then they'd be able to decrypt the encrypted message using their private keys. And that's kind of the beauty of this algorithm. And the math is quite involved, so again, we won't go into that. But um, we can find the public key from the private key, and we can basically verify that the modulus will be the same. So if we use this command, Openssl RSA, and then we input our private key, and then we use the tag pub out to public.pem, we can find our public key. And from there, we can find the modulus. But we could also find the modulus using the private key. So using this command here, using the RSA option for Openssl, and then not outputting it to a file and using the tag modulus, we'll find that our modulus is this. And using this command here, we'll see that the modulus is the same. So you could use a text comparator for this, but just looking at it, you can tell that the modulus for both the private and public key is the same. Okay, great. So we have our modulus. From there, we can calculate a signature. And as described earlier, signature can be found using a private key and our modulus. In this case, WebGoat is asking us to set our message to the modulus. So really, in this case, it's going to be n raised to the d mod of n. So to remove any characters, we could use echo dash n. Echo dash n is just basically says do not append a new line according to Linux commands. So dash n, do not append a new line. And we can basically find our modulus using this, or our signature, sorry. We can find our signature using this command. So echo dash n, our modulus. So here we'll just copy our modulus. We'll paste that in the clipboard, or paste our clipboard, and then we'll pipe that in the Openssl using the digital signature, or I'm not sure what DGST stands for. Could probably find it here in the docs. So like manual pages, 1.1, commands, could go DGST. Yeah, perform digest operations. So we can basically calculate our signature, hash it using SHA-256, and then output it to this sign file. Okay, so now if we look in our home directory, here we got our SHA-256. WebGoat wants that converted to base 64, and that can be done with this operation. Okay, so this operation will convert this SHA-256 file to base 64. And if we take a look at our signature, here we can see the hex string of our signature, or base 64 string of our signature. So we'll copy that, and if we paste that and our modulus into WebGoat, we'll see that it'll accept it. Okay, great, we found it. And I had solved this algorithm or solved this challenge beforehand, but hopefully that kind of clears things up. I know it took me a while to figure out the signature, but we're taking our modulus as our message. Normally your message would just be like, say, this is a secret. And then from there you would use your private key to encrypt the message. But I think in WebGoat's case, since you could set the message to be anything, they just had you set the message to be the modulus. So hopefully that clears up that challenge, and hopefully you got a little bit of insight into the RSA algorithm. I'll post more links around the RSA algorithm in the video description. And if you have any feedback, be sure to let me know in the comments. Thank you.